Welcome to the L&M Spook-a-thon. Please take a seat. There's one right there waiting for you. We hope you enjoy the 24 hours of live broadcasts with our hosts, and if you do like what we bring you on this network, please donate to keep us on the air. If you want to help us on a monthly basis, the subscription is available for you as well. Simply go to the website, lnmradionetwork.com, and click on the subscribe or donate buttons. We depend on you to help us keep great things like this happening. Stay tuned. There's so much more coming right up.
Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and tonight is Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network Spook-a-thon. I am so honored and proud to be a part of this network and to be able to kick off this great event tonight. For people that don't know, I mean, of course, we stream out to Facebook Live, and we've streamed out to YouTube before, but about 4 or 5 months ago, I don't remember how long it's been, I got the great opportunity, thank you, Daryl Neely, for helping me get there, and Ira Robinson, and Michael Vera for being able to host an actual radio version of this show on Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network. We actually play music on there. You can go to Late Night in the Midlands chat room. Go to Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network.com or LNMRadioNetwork.com. There's a chat room icon there. Go there. There's that chat room. Of course, the chat room on Facebook. But tonight's about trying to raise awareness that this is a great network, guys. For not just my show. The main show is Michael Vera, Late Night in the Midlands show, Ira Robinson's Open Eyes Network. You got, oh, God, my brain went blank. Secret Teachings by Ryan Gables. You got so many good shows on this network, and it's all self-funded. It's all from you guys, you know, being able to donate or subscribe. So this is to bring awareness. We need your help to keep this network going, and that's what I'll be shamelessly plugging the radio network tonight, but it needs to be done. We need your help to keep this radio network going. I am so honored and proud to be a part of it. Help us keep it going. You go to Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network.com. You can find the donate buttons on their website there. Please help out the network. Anything you can donate will help. All right, guys, tonight's guests are Raven and Spooky from Anything But Ordinary. You've seen them on YouTube. If you're not familiar with them, go to Anything But Ordinary with Raven, Spooky and Raven. It's my favorite show. I'm not joking. It is my favorite show when it comes to the paranormal to listen to. They are such knowledgeable women in the paranormal field. They do such great research and they have such wonderful topics. Their show's on 2-3 times a month sometimes. They had a little break there. I missed it when they did because my Tuesday nights when I was off were always usually spent listening to Spooky and Raven because they have such great knowledge. Well, tonight they're bringing that knowledge to the show. We're going to do haunted places. We have 5 haunted places. We got a haunted forest, haunted cemetery, haunted hotel, haunted mansion or house, and haunted castle. I think those are the 5 we're going to talk about tonight. We all picked our 5 locations we want to talk about, and we will have the phone lines open probably after the second commercial break. All right, guys, we'll be with you in just 1 sec. Welcome to another evening, not nighttime. This isn't our usual time for Paranormal Soup because we're usually on Sunday nights, 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Central on Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network. But tonight is the Spook-a-thon, so we're kicking it off. We're the first show for the Spook-a-thon. They're going to go 24 hours. Actually have the list for you. Let me make sure I get that right of who's going to be on tonight. Let's see. We got us right now, and we'll be over within 2 hours. Then you got Open Eyes Network, or Open Eyes, the show with Ira Robinson. And then, of course, the man himself, Michael Vera, will be from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. This is all Eastern, with Late Night in the Midlands, the main show of this network. And then the Show Us by Papa Bear from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. And then 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. is going to be Ghost Encounters with the Neelys. And then 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. we're going to get Ira Robinson back with Open Eyes. And then Ryan Gables, I think I got that right, Ryan Gables. 2 p.m. p.m. to 7 p.m. The Secret Teachings is an excellent show. And then Red Pill Reality, 7 p.m. to midnight. That's when it'll end. So it's a marathon. You can listen. You got 24 hours to listen to Late Night in the Midlands. If you can't, you're watching my show on Facebook, the shows are going to be, all of them are going to be on Late Night in the Midlands RadioNetwork.com. Go to the website. You can go tune in there. We're also on TalkStream, and they have a TalkStream Paranormal app. We're on TuneIn. You can listen in all those places. You get to hear the music on when you're listening. Of course, you can't do it on Facebook, or when like Michael's streaming out to YouTube, you can't listen to the music there. So if you like to listen more than you watch, I really recommend going to Late Night in the Midlands RadioNetwork.com and just tune in and listen to us there. You don't have to watch me on Facebook if you're just listening to the show. I know a lot of people just listen sometimes. All right, tonight, of course, we have a panel of people here with us, the usual Paranormal Soup team. Let me make sure I get that up and running. Oop, that's not what I want. There we go. I got my lovely co-host, Jamie D. How you doing tonight, Jamie?
Doing good, Jason. Thank you for having me.
Let me get the music off in the background. And then we got Pumpkinhead Paranormal, Bill Perry Padera himself. How you doing?
Real good.
Glad. Good. Ready to talk about some haunted locations tonight. I got 5 of my own. Now, Bill and Jamie I didn't get them prepped for this. They're going to be joining the conversation tonight. But we have Spooky and Raven with us from the show Anything But Ordinary. If you've never heard of it, go to my the event page for the show on Facebook. You'll find the link to their YouTube channel in there. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing great.
Doing great, Jason. Thank you for having us.
And, for people that are used to the show, we usually have the World Wide Web of Weird at the beginning. We're not doing that tonight. We're going to just get right into it. This is, like I said, Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network Spook-a-thon. So we're going to do something spooky tonight. We're going to talk about our five favorite locations, 5 most interesting locations to us. And I broke them down into categories. There was the Haunted Forest. Let me get up my list here before I mess it up. It was the Haunted Forest. We have the Haunted Hotel. And then what else was it? It was Haunted Forest, Haunted Hotel, Haunted Castles, or Haunted Castle. And then the Haunted House or Mansion. And then the last one was a Haunted Cemetery. Some classic, I call archetypes of haunted places we're going to talk about tonight. I didn't know if you guys wanted to start. You want me? I could go first on mine on a Haunted Forest. And, of course, I'm the butcher of names, so I can start this out. Let me get my share screen up here, too. Actually, I'll just leave it on the little screen for right now. So we got Jason's Haunt. So you're going to see, I don't have Jeff running it for me. It would have been great if it could, but, he's working right now. So we don't have Jeff running the video. So you got me running it. Let me go start with my first one is a Haunted Forest. Let me zoom in here. Okay, so Haunted Forests. To me, that's the beginning of people's fears of haunted locations. It wasn't so much probably in their homes. Back in early prehistory of man, people were scared of ghosts. I think they were originally scared of ghosts and creatures in the woods, haunted woods. They had to have been the place that nobody wanted to go. They weren't so much afraid of their homes, but of the woods. And this one is got some ancient history and is very haunted. And I'm going to butcher the name, the Hoya Baciu Woods. I butcher it to hell every time, but it's close to the city of Cluj in Transylvania, Romania. Is the site of a strange paranormal phenomenon which has been recorded and researched for nearly 50 years. 50 years. Wow, I can already talk. The woods are thought to have been notoriously haunted by the Romanian peasants who were murdered here. There was like thousands and thousands and thousands of people that they believe were murdered there in those woods. I mean, it's Vlad the Impaler himself, Dracula, they believe was beheaded in those woods. It is believed that the sounds of these ghosts are trapped within wooded confines of the Hoya Baciu, and that the ghosts are enraged by their predicament. Within the dark interior, people have known to disappear, strange lights have been seen, and the wind seems to speak, and visions of these tormented spirits are observed by terrified travelers. Pairs of green eyes and a black fog have been observed here, and many people reported a feeling of being watched as they travel near the forest edge. Locals also believe there's a hub of this paranormal activity, a circular plateau deep in the forest, which is devoid of trees. I got a picture of that. Should be the next one here I got in the lineup. I think. Nope. This was actually a famous UFO picture taken in the woods here. I don't know if I had any of the article information on that. I don't. I should have got the information for that. I forgot who took it, but a famous ufologist took this picture. I mean, it's pretty old, in these woods of this UFO. And there's all kinds of strange activity. I know you guys have talked about it on your show, Spooky and Raven.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
did.
we have.
did the haunted forest. That's one of the spots I really want to go to.
Yeah.
And we
me
butchered
too.
the name too.
Oh yeah, I mean, how can you not? It's for people to know how to spell. It's HOIABACIU, and that's why I'm butchering it. You feel free. We'll have the flying lines. You want to call in and tell me how to pronounce it? I will not be offended. I've heard so many different pronunciations of it when I watch other videos and stuff too. I'm not sure what it is, but this is this plateau or circle in the middle of the woods where like nothing grows, and they believe it's like the epicenter of the weird activity. Some of the other strange things that have happened within this woods is the forest was named after a shepherd that disappeared with 200 sheep into the forest. So I guess his name was Hoya Baciu. That's why it's got such a crazy name, some shepherd in Romania. There's also a legend of a 5-year-old girl who disappeared in the forest and didn't come out after 5 years and was wearing the same clothes she disappeared in. And the reports are that the clothes weren't even like deteriorated or anything like that. And the dates, this is like urban legend. I don't know what the dates are for that. When this this is just the myths of these woods. They're just a creepy place.
Yeah, I remember when I was doing the research for this one and stuff, and there was so many things because there was also in the area, not just the forest, but around the area, the apartments and places where people are living, they're having a ton of activity as well. But they were seeing cryptids in this forest as well, and it's just there's one of those places that creep me out. But that little girl one really freaks me out. I'm like, was she just like abducted by an alien, or like? And
other people have gone missing. Lots of people have gone missing in these woods. Some people, their bodies turn up years later, and they can't explain how they died. It's even got its own reputation for suicides, kind of like the Japan suicide forest as well.
That's another great place too.
Oh yeah, it was hard to pick for forests.
Creepy.
It's like that one or this one for me were the two decide. But I like this one better because I've always been into the original Dracula himself, Vlad the Impaler. This was his home territory, and there's just something about that area. Just people still to this day believe in vampires and werewolves there. It's in their culture. They still believe it's real and happening, and maybe they're right. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they call them dogmen now because the werewolf is where a person turns from human to the creature and stuff. But there are tons of people who are talking about sightings of these dogmen creatures, and that could have been what these people were probably seeing way back in that day. Because when I was doing the show on this too, they were talking about seeing these dogmen type creatures stalking the area.
Yeah, this could be like the original place of the Dogman, the original Dogman sightings. I don't know. I mean, if you look into Dogman, talk about getting off topic, go down a rabbit hole. It's one of those things you can find all over the world, just like Bigfoot.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. I had a cousin.
I don't want to meet, though.
I had a cousin that was married to a woman from Romania, and as long as I knew her, she talked about werewolves. I mean, she just absolutely believed in them. And like we'd go to a state park or something for a picnic, and she would ask if there were werewolves in the forest.
Nope. Almost turned on my own show. Just realized I'm not plugged in for callers later. I got to make sure I do that. Whoops, that would have been bad. Sorry. Now, I don't know, Spooky, do you have a haunted forest you want to tell us a little bit about?
Sure, I do. I chose the Monroe Morgan State Forest in just south of Martinsville, Indiana. And the reason that I chose this one is because this one has everything. It's a 24,000 acre forest just south of Martinsville, and it's the second largest state forest in Indiana. And like I said, it has everything. It has hiking, fishing, ghost, and a Bigfoot. This place has everything.
In Indiana?
Yeah. In Indiana, just south of Martinsville. And I've been to Martinsville I don't know how many times, and I never knew this place existed.
Now, do I have the right picture up, Spooky? Can you see?
No, that's not it.
Okay, let's make sure. Just tell me if I get the wrong picture. All right, that one?
That's
Nope.
the wrong one.
All right, let me go back.
Of course, you're a little bit delayed on me, too, so.
Okay. That's only two forest pictures I see. Is this one here?
That is a park.
That's a park.
There it is.
Okay, that is it. Okay.
That is it right there. Okay, this place became a state park in 1929 because the people that had moved to the area were destroying it because the land was clay and rock, and they just could not grow very good crops there. But they were still trying, and they were just destroying the area, so it became a state park in 1929. Now, inside the state park, there is this 100-year-old cabin called Draper Cabin. And you can actually rent this year-round for $25 a night, but there's nothing in it. All you get are a roof over your head, a floor under your feet. You even have to bring in your own firewood, and you get an outhouse. Well, the thing about this cabin is there are at least 3 deaths connected to it, maybe more. And one was this park ranger that just went crazy, and he died in there. Nobody really knows how. There was an escaped murderer that hid out there, and when they found him, he was dead. They don't know how.
Just like
And
just
then
mysterious death? Like the no determination on how they died?
Those two were mysterious. But the third one now, this was a young man, and I think it was in May of 2013. He went to the cabin, and he committed suicide by shooting himself. And, of course, around this cabin, though, is also where all the Bigfoot sightings are. But when you stay in this cabin, like I said, you have to take a sleeping bag with you. You hear footsteps inside the cabin with no one there. You hear walking around the outside of the cabin. You hear banging on the cabin and even banging on the door. And there have been very few people that have actually spent an entire night there.
See, I've lived in Indiana all my life, and I've never heard of this place, so I feel left out. Like, I didn't know about this place, so I've learned something new. See, every time I watch you guys on your show, I always learn something new. Yeah, I'd love to stay there. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, we always try to find a lot of different places to put it out there. So, because we do this thing called like haunted states, and we try to get as much from each state. So, like when you're traveling through, you can just hit up all these unknown places that's not really talked about by the mainstream, you know?
Right. And that's what I like to find. I don't really, once in a while I'll report on some place that's really well known, but I like to find the more obscure places. Also, in this cemetery, in this forest, there is a cemetery, and it's called the Step Cemetery.
I know about Step Cemetery.
STEPP.
Yeah, I've been there. I know about that place.
All right, there's something like 25 graves back there, and one of the graves is of a baby named Lester, and there is a headstone there. It's kind of like a homemade headstone, and even though some of the letters are missing, you can still make out baby Lester. And there is a tree stump right next to this grave, and the story is that baby Lester's mother used to go and sit on this tree stump and talk to him. There is also people that have been there that have said that they have seen the apparition of a woman sitting on this tree stump, and that she will, eventually disappear. There is another woman there called the Woman in Black. And this woman, I didn't find a name on her or anything, but she outlived her entire family. Her husband was killed in a rock quarry, and then her 2 children died. And she is seen walking in a certain area of the cemetery, kind of, I guess she's looking over her family. And she is another one, when confronted, she will just disappear. But like I said, this place is a one-stop shop.
No kidding.
If you like, really. If you like the outdoors, if you like hiking, if you're into cryptids or into the paranormal, this is the place to go.
I never even knew about that. I know there's been some Bigfoot activity in Indiana. I didn't know there. I didn't know. I know about Step Cemetery and that area, but I didn't know about Bigfoot. Wow.
I found out that about half of the Bigfoot sightings in Indiana happen right here in this state forest.
Say the name of the state forest again, because as people ask,
it is the Monroe Morgan State Forest, in just south of Martinsville, Indiana.
Yeah, definitely. It's within my own state. I gotta go. I'm waiting for the kids to get older so I can take them a little bit on this. We're just going on an outdoor hiking trip.
Yeah.
Don't tell them what
Maybe
I'm really there.
Daddy's going to show you Bigfoot. Yeah, I have family in Martinsville, and I have been there hundreds of times, and I never knew of this place.
Wow. All right, Raven.
But
And what? Oh, go ahead. I was going to go ahead. You have one more thing?
No, I was just going to say, but you can bet the next time I'm there, I'm going to check it out.
Oh, yeah, definitely. All right, Raven, what do you got for a haunted forest? And after that, we'll probably go to our first commercial break.
It was hard to choose, you know, because there's so many places I want to check out. But there's this one, it's Freetown Fall River State Forest. And we did this on a show that we did when we did like Bentington and the Bridgewater Triangle, you know, the biodiversity stuff. This place, you know, I just want to mention it here because this place is just chock full of things. But in Freetown Fall River State Forest, it has like over 5,000 acres of, you know, natural forest. And they have like tons of trails for people so they can go like hiking or biking or horseback riding or hunting, fishing, all that fun stuff, you know what I mean? But I have to say this has to be one of the creepiest places I've ever like did research on, and it's definitely one of the places I want to go check out. You probably should, you know, normal people would run from these places, but people like us are like, let's go, you know,
yeah,
like
exactly,
let's check everything we got. Yeah, we're like Scooby-Doo, let's go. But the stuff that's been going on in and around this area has been going back as far as like the 16th to 17th century, and people have been seeing like strange encounters, you know, while they're in the forest and outside of it. But it ranges from like cryptid creatures from like Bigfoot to Dogman. You have thunderbirds being seen there, you know, huge giant snakes to puckawudgies. You have people seeing like UFOs, you know, those black helicopters that are always seen, you know, with the creepy alien stuff whenever that goes on. You have people who are seeing apparitions, to balls of light there. You have tons of missing cases of unexplained disappearances of people just disappearing and never being seen again. You have, I don't even know, the tons of reports I was reading about animal mutilation. You have murders, unsolved crimes, and then of course you always have like your satanic occult activity almost in every forest, you know. But
can't forget
you know,
those.
people.
Nope.
Yeah, well, people while in the woods are always talking about they're hearing like disembodied voices. They hear screams and footsteps, and then in part of the woods there's this place where it's the quarry and they call it the ledge. Now, a lot where the ledge happened, there's tons of suicide cases. And what happens, it seems like when people are in or around that area, they get hit with like this overwhelming emotions and like sense of just darkness and dread. And they feel compelled to hurt themselves while in this area, which is really weird. And they do say when people are in that area, they happen to see spirits that seem to be repeating their last act and they're leaping off the ledge. And then the spirit disappears right before it hits the water. And this has been, you know, seen since, I don't even know, like I said before, back in, you know, colonial times as far as the leaping of people going to the deaths and stuff, because it even happened, I guess, with Native Americans. Now, you know, there's like UFO sightings going on and around this area. And, you know, I was researching and looked at the nuforc.org site. And then I just pulled out a couple from there. And there was this one time in September, just recently, for 5 minutes, these people witnessed like 10 orange orbs, you know, slowly appearing and traveling in a group above that area. And they were heading east. And then they just suddenly just disappeared out of nowhere. You know, there was another time where somebody had saw like a cylinder-shaped craft that was traveling, they say, over 70 miles per hour. I don't know how they clocked it, you know, but
right.
Whatever. There was a couple guys back in the 90s where they saw another strange craft that was hovering overhead in that area, and it was just brightly lit, and they watched it for several minutes. Now, the one that I found interesting was a patrol officer. He was a highway state patrol officer, and he was on duty at the time, and he was driving down in the area, and it was around 3 a.m., and he'd actually noticed above the horizon 6 lights, or actually it was like a dozen lights, but 6 were in a little different direction, and they were approaching the other lights at like a rapid pace. And he said at first he thought maybe they were like searchlights and people were like operating in 2 separate directions, but both of them were synchronized and moving at the same type of speed and format, or whatever you want to call it. But that's when it dawned on him, like, there's no way on earth that 2 different parties could be that synchronized with the lights and speed and directional changes the way they were operating. So, of course, he was following this and he was watching it, and he actually ran his cruiser off the road at one point. So,
oh, geez.
Because he was so entranced with it. So, you know, he got, at one point, you know, his place was in that direction. So he pulled off over it to his area, which was like 90 acres of isolation. And he got out of the car and he watched this thing coming towards him. He said that it was this enormous oval-shaped object, you know, flying about 300 or 400 feet above him. And he said it made no noise, but as it passed overhead, it had like this slight whooshing sound, which was, super quiet or whatever. But
Right.
he said that it had like this circular or revolving, series of lights that were going around the craft. And then again, you have the poplar one that everybody talks about, like in that forest where Reagan was flying over that rock
yeah.
I was just talking about, where they were talking about that they had an encounter with an unidentified flying craft, and they said that it was, following them, in front of them, behind them, and then all of a sudden it took off at a 45-degree angle and just, disappeared at a rate of thing. Now, when you're talking about this forest, not far from there is the Hockomock Swamp, which is like 20 to 15 minutes away. So you have to kind of include this, because if you're going to go to the
Right.
state park, you should go to the swamp too, because in the swamp, they have tons of strange activity as well. They claim that it's home to like tons of spirits. You got the cryptic animals, like I said, and they also believe that there's possibly a UFO base in there, which is trippy that somebody would come up with that. But you have stories of apparitions of Native Americans are seen roaming the swamps, or they're in canoes paddling. People see like the thunderbirds, or creatures that resemble like pterodactyls in flight. That's happened a lot. There's a report of like giant dogs with glowing red eyes. In
The
fact,
dog
there's a
man
guy.
surfaces again.
Yeah. In 1976, there was this guy that claimed that this creature type demon dog ripped the throats out of his horses there. They have reports of the bipedal hairy ape creature, Bigfoot, or whatever you want to call him. They roamed the swamps there. And there was this man, his name was Joseph. He claimed that he's seen this ape creature while walking into the woods near the swamp. There's another guy, I guess his name was John Baker. I guess he was fishing or in a canoe, and this bipedal creature, the Bigfoot, was keeping pace with him on land, following him. So, and then of course you have the Puckawudgie, which is a Native American thing
Right.
that's been seen in the area for a long time. It's like a 2 to 4 foot creature that seems to harass people while there. And then of course you have the ball lights that tend to lure people deeper into the woods or into the swamp, and just causes havoc to people. So, and then of course you have these phantom fires that appear too, because people will be, walking through the forest, and all of a sudden they'll see a fire, they go up there, and then it's almost like they stepped into some type of different time or feeling, like the energy and everything changes on them. And then they get lost and they try to leave. And when they leave, they're like totally somewhere else where they weren't before. So there's just a lot of strange things that are occurring in the state forest and near the state forest. And like I said, it's a part of what they call, the Benton and Bridgewater Triangle stuff. And this is definitely a place, if you guys are in, the area of Massachusetts, whatever, go check out this state park and the swamp.
Just don't go
It's
missing.
one of the places I want to go. Yeah.
Just don't
Just
go
don't go
missing.
missing. Right.
That's what, I got really addicted to listening to David Pilates.
Yeah, Missing
Pilates.
411 stuff.
Yeah, Missing 411. No, those are such interesting shows when he's interviewed about it. Just all the different people that have gone missing in these different state parks. And
there was people in this one that I think he talked about in his book as well.
I'm pretty
That
sure.
Paula Jean Weldon, whatever her name was. I can't remember her name 100%. But
Oh, yeah.
This place is just chock full of tons of stuff, no matter what. But I think I'd be more afraid of the serial killers that they have in there, because there's people that are constantly being murdered.
Well, the forces are just, for one, for the UFO thing, what's the UFO going to do? If it's going to pick a place, it's got to fly low for some odd reason. It's not going to do it over your neighborhood. It's going to find places like deserts and forests where there's not that many people,
Mm-hmm.
So
But
it
then
makes
there
sense.
are places where UFOs are seen
Oh,
in
yeah.
metropolises all the time, too. So I don't
Yeah.
think they care. They're just like, we're going to come in. What are you going to do? Who's going to believe you anyway?
You people are too busy looking at your phones now. We can just come right over the city.
That's right. We never
basically.
know it.
Who knows? They're
Yeah.
probably walking among us, like those movies always say. What was that one with Roddy Piper? Remember?
Oh, my favorite.
Right.
They live.
Yeah.
They live. That's it. They live.
I used to have that soundbite on my palette that I don't anymore. He says, "I've come here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Best lines in a movie ever. I love that's one of my favorite. It's up there in my top 5 favorite movies list. But with Forrest, the other thing that really interests me is the glowing orbs. I've always been fascinated by the orb phenomenon, not the picture orbs. People get in their pictures and are like, "Look at the dust! It's
Yeah.
you know,
Dirt and stuff.
No, but actually, like the big glowing orbs, like we had Chad and Alta Dillard twice on the show talking about being abducted by one of of these things. You wonder if that has something to do with the people going missing, or these things, taking people. I picture it like something you've ever seen, the old 1970s or 60s TV show, The Prisoner, and he always had the big pink ball like chasing him. I always picture like one of these orbs coming down and just taking somebody.
Yeah. That used to be one of my dad's favorite shows.
Oh yeah, I used to watch the old BBC reruns of that. All right,
I still watch it on.
But there's
TV,
plenty of stories that they're talking about people who are being lured in by these things, and like I said, some of them think. Well, the Native Americans talked about it being part of the spirit, nature spirits that live in there. The Puckwudgies and stuff, that they use this to lure people away. But like I said, there's people who've gone in there and have missing time. So who knows if it's what is exactly happening to these people.
Maybe
but there's some kind of darkness to this forest as well as like the one in Japan, because there seems to it almost seems like it lures people in, like serial killers especially, to do to use this as a dumping ground or anything else. And
I think that's just a habit of serial killers, though.
Well, no, but not every forest has the amount as a few of these do. You know what I mean? There's it's almost like there's some type of energy that draws certain things to it, and for whatever reason this place has that kind of energy, and it is a part of that big triangle that they have those documentaries and those shows on the Benton the Bridgewater Triangle, where there's a whole bunch of this section is where it's messing up. So definitely a place I want to go to, just because there's just so many weird things.
You got to wonder, those people that had those feel like they had the time slips or missing time, like did they come that close to getting taken, being that missing person and being being in a name in David Pilates, or I can't say his last name, but the 411 missing person, how close did they come? You wonder if they had something to do with it. Well, let's go ahead and we're going to run into our first commercial break here, guys. You're going to hear silence on Facebook Live because the music only plays out to Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network. Remember, guys, we're doing this. Go to Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network.com or LNMRadioNetwork.com and subscribe, donate. This is how we keep this network going. It's an excellent network. So many good shows you're going to hear today into tomorrow. Keep listening, keep watching. Some of them stream live on Facebook and YouTube, just like I do. Michael Vera and Ira Robinson's shows will be on YouTube, I'm sure, tonight. But it's time, people, to help our network stay alive. Go to Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network.com. Look for the donate or the subscribe button, and please, whatever you can give will help. All right, guys, we'll be back with you in just a few minutes.
Welcome to the L&M Spook-a-thon. Please take a seat. There's one right there waiting for you. We hope you enjoy the 24 hours of live broadcasts with our hosts, and if you do like what we bring you on this network, please donate to keep us on the air. If you want to help us on a monthly basis, the subscription is available for you as well. Simply go to the website, lnmradionetwork.com, and click on the subscribe or donate buttons. We depend on you to help us keep great things like this happening. Stay tuned. There's so much more coming right up.
All right, we are going to be back here in a second. This is Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network Spook-a-thon, and we are Paranormal Soup kicking it off right now. We are looking to try to keep this network going, guys. Don't forget to go Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network.com. Go there, look for the subscribe or donate buttons. Anything, any little thing you can even donate will help us keep this network going. It's such a great network. I'm so honored to be on this network with such great people behind it, like Michael Vera, Ira Robinson, Daryl Neely, Katie Neely, Ryan Gables. I mean, so many good people part of this network. Such great content. Check it out, guys. Go to Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network.com. All right, let's get back to our guest. All right, you still there with us, Spooky and Raven?
Yep.
Yes, we are.
All right, so we topped off on the first list. For people watching, listening tonight, we're doing haunted locations. We started off the first half hour talking about a haunted forest. We're going to try to fit in 5 tonight. Let's see, what's next on the list that we want to do? Let me look here. I'll pull up mine first here. Haunted hotels. This one might take up a little bit on my end for my haunted hotel because this is a favorite subject of mine. Let me get the screen share up here for this. I'll put the full screen share up, actually. Let me make sure I got that. All right, so haunted hotels. My favorite one I've always wanted to go to for a long time since it came out, like I think, 2013? I'm trying to remember how long ago it was the Stay at Maine or Cecil Hotel. Originally the Cecil Hotel. It's now called the Stay at Maine. Where it became really famous, and now it's had its own infamy over the years, but where it really became really famous was a video that got released of a woman named Elisa Lamb. It's from a surveillance video of her in an elevator. And she acts pretty weird and strange in this video, but what made it awful and horrible about the whole thing was that she ended up being found, what was it, 2 weeks later, I think it was, in a water repository, or basically the water tanks on top of the hotel. It's one of LA's most famous hotels, and we're watching the video. For people on Late Night in the Midlands, you can check out, go look up, just type in Elisa Lamb on YouTube, and you'll find all the videos if you've never seen it. And I'm playing that video right now while I just talk a little bit about the Cecil Hotel. The Cecil Hotel is one of LA's most famous hotels, thanks in part to its dark history. Home to murderers, maniacs, and ghosts. Some say the Cecil is anything but your average hotel. They say it's cursed. During its early years, enjoyed great success as a tourist destination and as a residence for the middle class Angelinos. However, by 1930s, this would rapidly change as the Cecil Hotel became known as the budget hotel for traveling salesmen and other transients. A series co-creator from American Horror Stories, Ryan Murphy, had said in numerous press conferences that the Cecil Hotel was his main source for inspiration in the season of American Horror Story where they did the hotel. Specifically, the recent strange case of Lisa Lamb, as well as the hotel's lengthy history of brutal murders and crimes and strange occurrences influenced for that show. In 1985, Cecil was home to not only the infamous serial killer Richard Ramirez, but fellow killer Jack Unterweger as well. Over the years, it's also been the site of a string of strange deaths, most notably, of course, Elisa Lamb. Elisa is one of the many bizarre deaths at the Cecil. In 1962, Pauline Otten jumped from the ninth floor, killing George Gianni when her body landed on top of him. The unsolved murder of Goldie Osgood, a.k.a. the Pigeon Woman. She was found robbed, strangled, raped, and stabbed inside her seventh floor room. And this is all long before Richard Ramirez stayed at the hotel and went on his killing spree. For people that know who Richard Ramirez, he was a.k.a. the Night Stalker. He became famous when he terrorized the L.A. in 1984 and 1985, killing 13 women, all of which he did while he was staying on the top floor of the Cecil. According to tour guides, he would dump his bloody clothes in the dumpsters out back after a night of killing. In 1991, serial killer Johann Uttenberger, I'm probably butchering that, a twisted serial killer who paid homage to Ramirez, also used the Cecil as a home base. Uttenberger was an Austrian visiting Los Angeles under the guise of a true crime writer researching prostitute killings in the United States. Unbeknownst to his employers, Johann had already killed 7 prostitutes before coming to America. Johann even used the LAPD as unwitting accomplices as they took him on ride-alongs through LA's red light districts. Later, Johann would return to these same spots and seek out his victims and then return to his residence at the Cecil Hotel. In recent years, the hotel has become a hot spot for paranormal enthusiasts. Ghost Hunters has had a show there. Ghost Adventures has done one. Who do we have? We had a guest on too. Oh God, I can't think of his name. Glenn. He was there recently, did some stuff. They all believe the building is haunted by spirits, or countless people have been met their untimely end there. It was so weird about what happened was mainly everybody's interest is Elisa Lamb, but I mean, you talk about Richard Ramirez being there, staying there, killing people. They believe it's not just the 2 I mentioned here, because I believe other people that have been up to nefarious scenes used this place as a spot to stay at while they were committing horrendous crimes, and lots of people have died in this hotel. What was really freaky about the Lisa Lamb is the reason they found where her body was. People were like, my water smells funny. That's because Lisa Lamb's rotting body was in their water tanks on top of the hotel.
My water has chunks in it.
Oh yeah, my water has chunks in it. Oh my God. I mean, how did this poor girl get into past 2 secure doors? We're watching the video here. How did she do it? get into the water tank. She was nude. She had to undress herself and get on top of this water tank. I got some pictures of the place here. I'll quickly run through before we get on.
Wasn't the water tank locked as well?
Yes, it was. We're talking about 3 different locked, secured areas. The tank itself was locked. Let's see. Let me see where I got my rest of my lease of land.
Didn't those doors have alarms on them?
Yes, but nothing went off. And her strange way, people said she was on drugs or mentally unstable because in the video she does these weird hand movements and acts strangely. Other people in the paranormal field have said she was possessed or influenced or something like that. It's just one of the oddest stories that just got no closure. This is what the hotel room right outside her elevator would look like. Where she's stepping out, and I'm showing a picture of that now. Let's see. Oh, won't let me do that. Hold on. Go to the next one. They also say you can see a foot in the video. Let me get.
Yeah, wasn't there like another body of not hers, but somebody else was somehow seen in one of the video frames? I thought. Yeah,
it's right here. They say you can. It's so blurry on my end, but they say you can see a foot in the video frame that's not hers. I always said is all these secured areas, did they ever look into the security of this hotel? Who's the security guard? What was he doing the night of Lisa Lamb's disappearance? And it almost seems like somebody was controlling the elevator too. Like she's hitting all the buttons trying to get it to go, and it won't go. It does go when she finally leaves.
Well,
Yeah.
There's one section there where it looks like she's talking to somebody.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just so many weird things with this case, and they just ruled it an accidental death.
Right. And one of your viewers had mentioned that the authorities talked about that there seemed to be edited minutes out of the video.
I got that video too. So what they did is they slowed it down. They proved that the LAPD released the video they released was actually slowed down. They proved it by the timestamp. Here is a video where somebody gives you 2 different ones. Here's the video that was released is this little one on the right. It's been slowed down severely and edited. The time seconds and video seconds match if you put it up to 135% speed. So why did the LAPD release the video super slowed down? There was no purpose to doing that. It actually changes everything.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm with you, Rob.
Yeah.
They know something more. Maybe she was
exactly.
sacrificed. Who knows, for some thing. They're always taking people out for weird.
Yeah, I don't think that was just an accidental death. It's just too weird for that. I'm not buying it.
Isn't that one of the stories too about that hotel that there were satanic rituals and things done?
Yes.
In the basement?
Like in the basement, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You guys seen the?
And wasn't like a big place for Hollywood, big time people that spend time there.
Here's one for you. Here's another one. Let's go back. Talk about Hollywood. That's a good point, Raven. Is the Black Dahlia. What's her real name? Susan Short or Elizabeth Short? Elizabeth Short.
Elizabeth Short.
One of the last places she was seen was in this hotel. Rumored. Was in this hotel.
Well, I just saw a documentary on this hotel last week, and this place has a dark, dark history.
Oh yeah, it's a nasty place, and I wouldn't go there without watching my back. This is where she acts really weird. Look at it in the actual 135% speed up. It looks really weird. She does it really slow, but they slowed the video down. But here's the actual. It's sped up 135, but they believe that's the real time frame.
Is she using sign language right there? It almost looks like she was using sign language
Maybe.
right there.
I don't know, but that's when she seems like she is talking to somebody too. And it's near this part where they thought they catch this foot come in too. And they say the stuff's been edited out too, because they're saying here like the minute approaches 2 minutes and then it skips, and then a minute changes again. It could be something messed up in their DVR system in this hotel. Obviously, they don't keep everything up 100%. I mean, there's even pictures of the. Let me see if I can find it. There's one picture they released. I think this might.
I just can't think of any reason
one.
to edit a video other than you're
Hiding
cutting
something
something out on purpose to hide something.
And then this, they say it's missing a door hole, the missing doorknob, an open hole. That this is an open hole. The picture's not that clear, but it's almost like you can see the rooftop through. Like, why is the doorknob missing on this door? They say there's tagging on the inside of the door, like spray paint and stuff like that. I don't know what that means, but there's just so many suspicions. You know, just picture this is what she was in, one of these tanks. She got went up a ladder, got naked, and went inside the tank and died from. I believe the ruling was what, asphyxiation.
But you'd think that
accidental drowning or something.
Yeah.
But what happened to her clothes? I mean,
Right.
they did say in that documentary they never did find her clothes.
Well,
No,
some of
they
her
never
items
did.
were there, except for her cell phone was missing, and then there was a
Yeah, her
mention
cell
about
phone
her
was missing.
social media was months later on. Somebody had activated or wrote into her on her social media. Something I was reading. But the thing is, if this hotel's full of people and everything else, you think somebody would have saw something, heard her being murdered, or
Right.
heard her being dragged, or is this one of those weird? You know, maybe she was abducted by an alien, and I don't know. There's so many things that everybody's talking about. Like, I don't think we'll ever solve this. Only that if
No,
somebody
obviously it won't, because the
involved
police
in
wrote it
this-
off. The police wrote it off, you know. I mean, that's it. It ends there. I mean, we could all try to do our own personal Scooby-Doo investigation. We ain't going to find the guy in the mask, you know. We're never going to know
Well,
what happened to
once-
Lisa Lamb, I don't think.
Yeah.
Once it's ruled as an accidental drowning, once the coroner makes his ruling, the case is closed.
Yeah, that's it. And that's what. Why? How? It still perplexes my mind. I know I'm not on the inside of the investigation. I know I don't know all the dirty details of what happened, but still, just. I mean, come on. How can you rule this an accident? How is there not any suspicion of foul play? I mean, give me a
How
break.
did she lock it on herself when she was already in the tank? I mean, right there. that
Right,
should
it was
prove it's not
closed.
safe.
Yes, I mean, there's so many obvious questions, but nope. It's like they have the South Park police there, and they're like, nothing to see here, people. Move along, move along.
And
You
how
know,
did she get the door to that tank open? Because from
Right.
what I understand, that was a very heavy door on that tank. And she not only had to get it open and crawl in, she had to close the thing.
And then she drowns herself.
And let's get
And then she
naked
drowns
before we do
herself.
that.
Oh yeah, that's the only way to do it, naked.
Exactly.
Yeah, nothing makes sense about it.
The whole hotel is creepy in itself. Just the fact that there's so many dark people that seem to be attracted to go here. The fact that there's a lot of weird paranormal things going on and stuff. It makes you wonder, like, what was in the area before all these buildings were built upon it, you know, or what kind of environment, you know, as far as
Yeah,
You
you know,
know,
what's built in? Is there a
what's going
gateway to
on.
hell? I picture
Yeah.
like Rosemary's Child, you know, like, or there's people like that are living there, or like, you know, like all guarding the gateway to hell or something there. You know, I don't know.
Well, Richard Ramirez was a devil worshiper. I
Yes.
mean, what
Oh,
did
yeah.
he do while he was there?
Hey, he loved this place. Obviously, he killed all 13
Yeah.
women and had a room there. You know, he thought this was the perfect place to stay, to do it, to stay at Maine. You know, there's Cecil Hotel back then. You know, last good season of American Horror Story was the hotel season. I haven't liked any since, and I didn't like the one before. The reason I watched that one is because I knew they were basing it off of this, and it was pretty good up until the last episode. But you know, I was hoping they were going to do some more, like get it even closer to what was going on, like you know, Cecil Hotel or whatever. They did introduce Richard Ramirez. If people did watch that season, he was there. They had a whole party of serial killers, but they made it like they all came to the hotel at one point. You know, you wonder how many serial killers have made this a place to stop, you know, or
well, yeah,
spend
the
night.
Austrian dude though, that's the one I find
Yeah.
kind of bizarre and fascinating. The fact that he, you know, he's across another planet basically on the other side, and he's like, I'm going to come here and copycat and do all this stuff. It's the whole place is
Yeah.
you know.
All right. Well, Raven, do you want to go on next on your haunted hotel?
I'll let Spooky go first. You know,
Okay.
just keep the order going.
Okay.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
I chose the Copper Queen Hotel in Bisbee, Arizona. It was built by Phillips Dodge Mining Company, and it was built to house investors and dignitaries that were visiting the mines. This place was a treasure trove of minerals. They mined copper, silver, gold, lead, manganese. And these veins were so rich that they didn't even run out until 1973. This place was the premier place in all of Arizona. It's also, by the way, the longest operational hotel in Arizona. This place has never closed its doors. It's just been running that long. This place offered everything, and even female companionship, which was offered on the third floor. There was this prostitute, her name was Julia Lowell, and she serviced men in their rooms on the third floor in the 1920s and 30s. And this was a time when prostitution was tolerated before they started making it illegal.
Right.
But she fell in love with one of her clients, and, like all women in her profession, she wanted to get married and join a respectable society. And one of her clients was a wealthy man, and she just fell in love with him and wanted to marry him, but he rejected her because he said she was not marriage material. So she fell in this real deep depression, and she killed herself in room 315. Now, there's another death associated with the hotel, and it's of an 8-year-old boy. He was the son of a woman who worked in the dining room, and he used to play on the third floor, but one day he died of an accidental drowning while he was swimming in the neighborhood pond. Now, there are several spirits that haunt this place, and just about everyone who stays here, they experience something. The entity of Miss Julia will most likely haunt the west side of the third floor, and mostly in room 315. Now, she only appears to men. Some have reported that they have heard a woman whispering in their ear, and sometimes she's even seen as white smoke. And some men have woke up in the middle of the night to find her standing naked at the end of their beds, or she would be dancing. And there's also been times when she's been seen on the grand staircase, appearing as a solid living person that has very few clothes on and holding a bottle of booze. The entity of the young boy has been seen playing on the third floor and in the dining room, and they say he's a bit mischievous because he likes to hold items, or hide items, that belong to the guests who stay on the third floor. Now, when guests on the third floor run water in their bathtubs, they will hear this boy crying loudly.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah, it is. Children eating in the dining room will see him under their tables. They'll be sitting there eating, and all of a sudden there'll be something down there playing with their legs.
Oh, that's even creepier.
That's what I thought. I didn't know which one was creepier, the bathtub thing or... Yeah. There is an entity of what has been described as an older, dignified gentleman who is tall with long hair and beard, and he's dressed in, they say, in this really fine black suit, complete with a cape and a top hat. And they say that he seems to be living in the lobby and the stairwell, as well as in the rooms in the southeast corner of the fourth floor. Now, women or witnesses claim that either right before they see this man or right after they see him, they get this real strong smell of cigar smoke. There is a woman dressed in a black turn-of-the-century evening gown that has been seen walking up and down the grand staircase, and they say that when she walks to the dining room, she just suddenly just disappears. Let's see, there's also this reddish, this apparition with kind of reddish brown hair, and she always appears in a solid form. And they say that she appears to be in her early 20s, and she appears to the front desk employee in the dining room, but when she appears, she only appears from the waist up.
Like she's missing her lower half?
Yeah, she's missing her lower half. They say they've never seen her complete. She just appears from the waist up. There's also an entity known as Howard, and he checks up. He'll watch the employees as they work, that he'll come up on them and stand there and watch how they work. And they think that he used to be an ex-employee of the place, a former employee, and they think that he may have worked at the front desk. And the people that do work the front desk, they say sometimes the phone will ring, and when they answer, there'll be this disembodied voice asking for Howard.
Ooh.
There's also a second man on the third floor, and employees claim that they will hear their name being called, as they go about their jobs, and sometimes even throughout the hotel. and they'll hear these heavy steps it's like a man walking in heavy boots, and they'll just hear him walking up and down the hallway on the 3rd floor. Now, the 3rd floor of this place is the hot spot of the activity. That's where most of these hauntings happen. But they say that none of the entities have tried to hurt anyone, and in fact, they say they seem to be very, very friendly. And these hauntings do continue to this day.
Do they allow people to do? Sorry, Jason.
No, go ahead.
Like
Raven.
Paranormal investigations there. I mean, do they let people come to that place and do that?
Well, Ghost Adventures, of course, has been there. There's been a few others that have done investigations, but they do allow paranormal investigators to come in and do investigations in this place. Personally, I probably wouldn't want to stay the night, mainly because it costs $165 a night to stay there.
Whew.
But yeah, it's expensive.
It's in Arizona. What town was it again?
Bisbee, Bisbee,
that's right.
And Bisbee is a plethora of paranormal activity. The entire town, almost, but most of the paranormal activity seems to be centered around this hotel.
I was thinking about, like, when you talk about the guys waking up to see the naked lady in front of their bed dancing or whatever. I would love to be the fly in the room to see the reaction to that. Like, you know,
I hear you.
I was scarred from her early childhood. My mom, and I know she's watching, let me watch The Shining, and there's that's another hotel I would love to see is the Stanley. But the scene where Jack Nicholson goes into the bathroom and there's this naked woman in there, and he's like, "Oh hey," you know, he doesn't ask like, "Why is there a naked woman in this hotel room where we're supposed to be nobody else?" No, I'm gonna go up and make out with her, and she turns into an awful hag, and it scarred me for life. You wonder how many of these guys were like, "Hey, what are you doing in my room?" Or how many of them just like wet themselves at the sight of it, like, what the hell,
If I had my pick of ghosts, I'm going to choose the naked lady every time.
True. But don't make out with her, Rob, because I've seen The Shining. It doesn't end well. It does not end well.
It doesn't. Never
I've seen
does.
The Shining too. It does not end well.
All right,
I find
Raven.
the one that the fast. Well, before we go, the fascinating is that they have full body apparition where it's almost solid, and then she's pretty ballsy if she's walking down the stairs like dressed scantily with booze in her hand. Like, what are you gonna do?
Come back to my room, boys.
Yeah, I hear you. But most of these apparitions have appeared to people to be solid, except for the one that's only
like
seen
half.
from the waist up.
Yeah, one of the things I
half a woman.
was saying about the ones that the way people manifest, these ghosts manifest. Sometimes their face is blurry. In pictures you see it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get these ghosts appear like they're almost solid, except their face is blurry, or they're missing an arm, or it's like kind of faded out. Of course, there's fake photos, but the ones that might be legit, you wonder if a ghost materializes. If it's all consciousness, they have to be aware of themselves to consciously project themselves, maybe, and maybe they can't get all the pieces right. Maybe the woman only thinks about herself waist up. I don't know. I've always thought about those things.
That's a good theory, really. But I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, well, who knows? Who
Really
knows?
but
The shadow
but I
knows.
think that it was one thing. I lost my train of thought there. But one thing that I did find interesting was that these entities do appear solid enough that people can give a complete description of them.
Yeah. I mean, like the real people right there, like the naked girl in the hallway again.
Yeah.
Like how many guys did she like try to lure her back to her room, or does a guy go like, "Hey, you're drunk, let's go back to your room," and then she turns into an awful hag? You wonder, or maybe they just had a good time. I don't know, but usually they don't. You're not going to have a good time if you go with a naked ghost woman. I just don't think you're gonna have a good time. I think it's gonna be bad. A lot of movies show that.
I just can't see how that's going to turn out well at all.
You're gonna have a bad time. All right, Raven, what do you got for a haunted hotel?
I picked the Hotel Colorado.
Awesome.
It's one of those places I thought, this is one of those places I want to hit up.
Me too.
Because Colorado has tons of places that you get to stay there for like months, just investigating the whole state. But it's located in Glenwood Springs, Colorado. Now, this hotel began its construction in 1891, and they opened their doors to the public in 1893. Now, they said that this was built as a replica of the Medici place in Italy. Now, they had like Roman brick and sandstone hotel, and it was the first in the area to actually have like electrical lighting, which back then was super awesome. You know, they had like 191 rooms. They have a bar, a billiard room, a spa, and a swimming pool, which was fed from like the hot springs to, you know, cure any of your ailments, you know.
Oh yeah, I went on a trip to Arizona with my parents when I was a kid, and got to see a lot of these places where they had the hot spring stuff. For people, you know, they literally went there thinking, you know, it would cure their arthritis and all kinds of ailments they had back then.
Yeah, Teddy Roosevelt used it a lot.
They were killing people too, though, with like the stuff these doctors were like injecting them with while they're doing it too. But go ahead,
Right.
sorry.
But they also had like, you know, a ballroom, and they often had like their own orchestra playing, and they had, you know, the large dining area. And they used to call this hotel like the Little White House of the West because it was extremely popular destination for, you know, the rich and the famous people. And like I said, Teddy Roosevelt, he was often there, constantly staying there. You had the unsinkable Molly Brown. She had been there a few times. You had even Al Capone and a bunch of gangsters staying there for a time period and using it as like their like hangout to have meetings or whatever. And, you know, during World War II, the hotel was used as a naval hospital for a few years there. And they said that it housed over like 6,000 patients. And then part of the basement at one point was used as a morgue during that time, which could kind of explain probably some of the hauntings. But the hotel was added to the U.S. National Registry of Historic Places in 2007. And this hotel has actually been in operation for over 120 years. So, I mean, it's a very popular place. People love it for whatever reason, multiple reasons, obviously. But during the 120 years, there's many people have come and gone. But, you know, for whatever reason, some of them decided to stay on. And through the centuries, it's talked about seeing people have experienced tons of apparitions and paranormal activity, you know, both by the guests and the staff that work there. You have a spirit of like a young girl who's often spotted playing with a ball in several areas of the hotel. She's like dressed in, you know, Victorian attire. And then you have the staff and the guests who talk about, you know, the typical smelling cigar smoke, or you smell perfume in parts of the hotel or in the main lobby where you can't find the source of where it's coming from. People are constantly hearing like disembodied screams. Or staff have talked about, they believe it's from this one woman who was actually a chambermaid during, I think it was like World War II period, where she was actually murdered because she had a boyfriend, and then she ended up like meeting this other guy, and she's like, hey, you know, so they kind of had like a weird love triangle going on. And of course, her original boyfriend got enraged, so he had killed her. But the room that she was murdered in, they tend to use that only as a storage room. They don't really let anybody stay in there. But because of, you know, ever since, you know, that murder happened, that's when these horrific screams and stuff seem to start happening, and they see, you know, this female apparition and stuff about. So they just summarize like, okay, this must be because of this that happened, you know. But you have this female apparition that's also been seen standing at the foot of guest's bed, but unlike the other hotel, she's not naked or anything. She's just checking on him, like, you know, and, you know, seeing that the, you know, who knows what she's doing, but she's not there to have a little entertainment. But there's people who talk about their lights and their TVs turning on and off, or the TV channels constantly being turned on them. Guests talk about being in a room and they hear knocking on the door and they go and open it, no one's there, and that happens several times, where they get annoyed and like, hey, we want a new room, and it continues to happen to wherever they go. They talk about the elevator constantly going from floor to floor, but no one's inside of it. But I guess you could always write that off as some kind of electrical issue. But, you know, staff talk about lights being turned on and off in areas of the hotel where the doors are locked, you know, so there's nobody in there that should be doing this, you know. And I guess when the hotel was having renovations during the 1980s, there's this particular room, it was room 551, where they seem to have a ton of activity in, and it always still does. But they were changing the wallpaper and putting this new wallpaper up. And the next day they'd go in and the wallpaper would be taken off the wall and rolled up and stacked on the floor. So again, they go and put the wallpaper back up, and the next day they go in there. And this happened several times where this thing kept taking the wallpaper down. So of course they're frustrated. So they decided, we're going to just take a bunch of variety of wallpaper samples, we'll lay it all out on the bed, they shut the door, they went out, they came back the next day. All of the samples were on the floor except for one. One was left on the bed, and they decided to put up that wallpaper, and that stayed up ever since. So the story goes. I mean, I don't know.
Maybe that was the problem. He didn't like the wallpaper they were putting up.
But it seems like this hotel just has a wide variety of activity going on since the early time of when it was built. And like I said, you've had gangsters coming through there. You had famous people. You've even had Ted Roosevelt hanging out there for a long time, even Unsinkable Molly Brown, which I thought was cool. But, you know, they're hearing disembodied voices and screams. They're seeing apparitions all over the place. And it happens day and night. So this is another place I just want to hit up, in my travels.
Yeah, our haunted bucket list. Let's just hope we don't kick the bucket going to one of these places, you know. But oh man, I've known about the Hotel Colorado, and I've always wanted to. This is definitely on my list of places I want to check out and see. And I love architecture too. I mean, this place is so beautiful. It'd be awesome to be able to check it out and go there, just get a room and see if you find a non-naked ghost standing in front of your bed. Hopefully,
this place seems to be safe there for that. So.
Well, let's move on before our next commercial break. Let's see if we can fit in the next category. Let's do haunted castles. Now, mine is one I'm going to butcher. I always pick the stuff that's got the hard names I can't pronounce, but this is a place that's always fascinated me. They've talked about it on Ancient Aliens, and all kinds of different shows have talked about it. Is the let me make sure I get the right picture up for it too. Here we go. It is the Huska Castle. It's built over the gateway to hell. That's why I love it.
Oh,
I love
lovely.
that idea. Yep. Gateway to hell. Come stay at this castle, and we have a gateway to hell. Legend has it the Huska Castle is built over a gateway to hell, and once a year about the construction of this mysterious. Whoop, this article messed up on me. Hold on. Dang it. Wow, it really messed up. All right, so where was I? All right. Once a year about construction in a mysterious manner, you may want to rethink your position on the existence of Bigfoot and Mothman, this article says, because some folklore has more truth behind it than you think. The Huska Castle was built during the first half of the 13th century by the Bohemian ruler Ottokar II. It was originally intended to be used as an administration center for Ottokar's vast landholdings. At least that's what they told the public. Looking at the exterior of the castle, there's no way anyone would choose to build a huge estate on this site. In fact, even poor peasants wouldn't want to build this hovel's location. When the Huska Castle was built, it was surrounded by nothing. There was no water in the area, no land, no mountains, or other natural barriers for protection, no roads for trade or travel, and it wasn't even located near any borders. In other words, from the outside looking in, Huska Castle was in the worst possible position to defend itself from marauders, or even to provide food and water for its inhabitants. From the outside, you see dozens of windows, but most are fake. So you see these windows on here, some of them aren't even real. There's nothing behind them of the panes but the castle walls. But take a look on the inside. Well, the castle appears to be 4 or 5 stories tall. There's no stairs built to connect the first floor to any of the upper floors. Instead, you had to use ropes, which were removed immediately after each use. The castle walls are covered with depictions of dragons being slain. Let me get some of those pictures up here. I have some of the inside pictures. Here's one of them. Oh, let me get that there. The castles are covered with depictions of dragons being slain, and one picture shows a left-handed archer, supposedly the only left-handed archer ever to be known. In the center of the castle is a chapel built over a huge bottomless well, and it's believed that this is the well that is the gateway to hell. According to folklore, during the original construction of the castle, workers were brought in from local prisons and offered a pardon for their crimes if they agreed to be lowered by rope into the depths of the well. Seconds after the first man was lowered, they heard a horrific screaming and pulled him back out. The man, whose hair was now snow white, had aged 30 years in just a few minutes. Due to the isolated and indefensible location, researchers believe that the Huska Castle was never meant to be used as a fortress to keep intruders out. Rather, it was built to keep forces of hell from getting into our world. Over the centuries, people have reported seeing huge evil creatures which look like a cross between human being and a giant frog and a bulldog. This monster is semi-transparent and growls, as it's said, to fill you with dread. Legend has it there's a mad monk who haunts the chapel. He wears a simple brown robe of the day and carries a ghostly axe, which he uses to attack visitors. Over the years, the castle has changed hands, and at one time it was used as Nazi headquarters. Researchers have studied the well, but never been able to find the bottom, and attempts to filling it with stone have been unsuccessful. Perhaps the most disturbing of all the reports that people have seen is a long line of poor souls, all chained together, walking through the gates of the castle. Each person has suffered some gruesome injury, and some are reported to be carrying their own heads in their hands. So these are like spirits people see walking into the castle. And there's a giant black dog, which is something I'm always fascinated by the myth of the black dogs. A black dog who runs up and down the line of people, nipping and tormenting them as they make their arduous trek towards the gateway to hell. I love castles, the haunted castles that you typically have, but this one's got its own like theme to it. When you bring in the whole element of the gateway to hell, and the Nazis were so interested in that stuff. Here's another mural I'm showing, shows these like weird creatures. The guy's got one on a leash. I don't know, but this place is weird, definitely weird. And if I ever get to travel, there was this. I would love to see it.
Yeah, I've also heard about flying humanoids because we did this on one of our shows too, and I was doing research, and man, there was so much to read. Like you said, this is definitely one of those, I have to go here. Besides, just in Romania, I would love to see everything about it. You know what I mean? The culture, the structures, and everything. But the flying humanoids, that's the thing that freaks me out. That people
they were like a bat-like winged creature flying off the castle. And people see it, and you wonder what's coming out of the gateway to hell. There's another picture I had, I think, of the well. I think I had that. Let me see. I think I had that picture. Yeah, here it is.
I can't imagine going to my bedroom climbing up a rope.
Right. Who designed it? Why? The whole point of it was why did they design this castle here and do these things? I don't know.
That was my first thought when you said that. Who in the world designed this place?
Like I said, it's built more to keep something in than to keep people out.
Keep it out.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
And the Nazis had such they had such curiosity in these kind of places. You wonder what they were trying to look into while they were there. There's a lot of rumors of that. All right, Spooky, since you've been doing the next slot, what you have for a haunted castle?
I have the Belcourt Castle in Rhode Island. Now, this is a 10-bedroom, 11-bathroom, 50-room castle that sits in Newport, Rhode Island. And yes, America does have castles.
Oh yeah.
What actually makes this castle unique is the fact that it's not so much haunted by the previous owners, but by the items brought into the castle. It sits in an area that's you might as well call it the playground of the rich. And in fact, it's most of the places in this neighborhood are considered haunted, but Belcourt is the most haunted. It was built in 1894 by Oliver Belcourt, and when he died in 1908, his wife Alva became bored and she traveled, and the castle fell in disrepair. It went through two more owners, and neither one of those owners did anything to repair this place. So of course, it fell in more disrepair. But in 1956, the Teeny family bought the property, restored it, and filled it with their extensive collection of antiques and reproductions. Now, attachments to some of these objects seem to be the real cause of the hauntings, according to Harley Teeny. She saw the ghost of a monk dressed in brown and felt this haunting originated from a carved statue of a monk. And no matter what room they put this statue in, the monk appeared only in that room, and when finally they put the statue in the chapel, the apparition just stopped appearing at all. Must have been happy there.
Right.
One night in the 1990s, Harley was headed to the kitchen, and she noticed the stained glass lights were on in the ballroom. I'm getting tongue-tied for some reason. I apologize. And she walked over and turned the lights off, and she heard this blood-curdling scream behind her. So when she turned back toward the kitchen, the lights came back on. Now, she's not the only one that's heard these screams, and they're believed to be coming from an ancient Japanese suit of armor, and the helmet on this armor is damaged, and they think maybe that whoever wore it died a painful death. Now, the visitors to this castle, they claim that they have seen a face inside this armor. And when young girls stand near it, it screams. They hear a screaming coming from it. There is an 18th century mirror that hangs in the music room, and visitors have claimed that when they look in the mirror, their reflection moves even though they are standing still. Now, in the ballroom, there are these two very old salt chairs. And a salt chair is a chair with a high back, and it's usually called a throne. And at least on one occasion during one of the tours, at least 70 people witnessed a bolt of lightning shooting out from one of these chairs.
Holy moly.
Now there are visitors who have claimed that when they sat in the chair, they immediately felt cold and were overwhelmed with this feeling of nausea. And some have even claimed that when they sat in the chairs, it felt as if somebody was already sitting in them. On a tour, a male visitor sat in one of the chairs, and the tour guide witnessed that this man being physically ejected from the chair and was thrown across the room at least 6 feet in the air.
Holy crap.
Now, the apparition of a man believed to be Oliver Belcourt can be seen wandering from room to room, but he doesn't seem to be interacting with anyone. He's just, they just see him walking around this place. And these are just a few of the reported hauntings that take place in this place. It is believed that there are over 100 items in the castle that have attachments. So this place has got to be really, really active. And they've been witnessed by hundreds, if not thousands of people during the years that these tours are given. Now, the castle was sold in 2010, and it is closed to the public now.
Dang.
Except during June and July. But on weekends, they will have ghost tours.
Oh.
And if anybody is interested, they can go to their website and check out the dates and prices.
Well, I'm definitely interested. Another one on the bucket list. What do you have for us, Raven, when it comes to haunted castles? Then we're going to go to our last commercial break.
I have the Eltz Castle located in Germany. Now, this castle was constructed during the 9th to 13th century on top of an oval rock in the middle of a valley along a trade route of the Mosella River. And it's surrounded by this lush forest. It's like 740 acres of the Eltz Forest.
Yeah.
And that is the nature reserve. Now, the Eltz Castle is still in the same family and has been for over 850 years. Now, that's like 33 generations. And that's like
wow.
on other castles, no
Right.
one's like that. You know what I mean? Now, it has like 8 towers that are over 100 feet high, and parts of the castle still have the old Celtic and Roman fortifications. And the castle still contains several of the 14th and 17th century items that have been passed down through the generations. And it ranges from old armor to weapons to, furnitures and paintings and things like that. Now, I should say the castle is open for tours as well, like the one that Spooky was just talking about, but there are stories that have been told over the years of paranormal activity occurring here. Now, people are hearing disembodied voices and footsteps. They're often heard throughout the whole castle. You have children laughing and giggling in the hallways where there's no kids.
That's
yeah,
creepy.
that stuff always freaks me out when you have a little kid that's taunting you. And who knows if it's really a little kid,
Right.
You have objects that are being manipulated with constantly. You have staff that work at the castle that talk about finding many of these large wooden doors that are always locked nightly. They come back for the morning for, getting it prepared for the tours and all that stuff. They're wide open. They're unlocked. And obviously they're saying, well, these spirits are roaming around every inch of the castle at night when no one is there. Now, some claim to have seen apparitions of a knight that's outside the castle riding his steed back and forth near the gates. Now, some think this apparition has to do with the occurrence that happened between Maid Agnes Eltz and Knight Bronsberg. Now, Agnes, she was the daughter of Count Eltz, and she grew up with all brothers, and she enjoyed dressing up in armor and goofing around because she wanted to be like one of the guys. She didn't want to sit in the castle and do princess junk, she wanted to be out there riding horses
because that's so boring.
Fighting swords and stuff like that. Well, she was promised to, in marriage to Knight Bronsberg, but she didn't like this guy at all. She thought he was a dork or whatever. So during the festival, she ignored him, and he got angry. So he grabbed her forcibly, and he pushed her out on the dance floor, and, he kissed her. And, of course, she smacked him. And, well, he got mad, so he took off his glove and tossed it at her feet, and he left the castle. Well, time passed, and several of the knights who worked for Bronsberg, they attacked this castle, and they were killing several of the guardsmen. And, of course, Agnes, wanting to be a part of her brothers going out and defending their castle, she dressed up in armor, and she headed out towards the siege, and she went into battle. Well, during that time, it was said that she and the Knight Bronsberg met, and she charged him, she struck him, and he got her back, and she fell, and she died instantly.
Aww.
Well, Bronsberg bent down to remove the knight's visor, and that's when he saw it was Agnes. So, of course, he was upset that he killed the woman that he was in love with, so he left the castle and wasn't heard from again, or so the story goes anyway. But many think that the Knight light that they're seeing outside the castle gates on that steed is that of Knight Bronsberg looking for Agnes. Now, many believe that a lot of the activity that goes on in this castle is from Agnes herself, with the doors opening and closing, the objects being moved about and stuff. But that's just, some of the paranormal, encounters that are taking place at this castle. And like I said, you guys can go and take a tour of the castle. But the one thing that they don't allow there is photographs because, the flash messes with the old stuff and stuff like that. But I don't know if this will be open for paranormal investigating, you know what I mean? But at least to go there and check it out is well worth it. But you can always check these places out, like virtual tour of these castles, because they always have their own websites, with little things and stuff. But this is definitely one of those places I want to check out too, just because of the area, the way the castle looks, and just
it looks like something out of Harry Potter. I mean,
well, that I don't think of Harry Potter, but I think of this is awesome. I want to go.
It just reminds me of it, the way it looks and that. You talk about we were talking about with Spooky's American castles. Me and my wife on our honeymoon went to the Biltmore, and we had some freaky stuff happen there on the tour in the middle of the day. Like we heard a click of a lighter and then smelled cigar smoke, and we're in the stairwell. There's nobody there smoking. There's no way they'd allow smoking there. It was really weird. And then we saw a faint of image of a woman in the bathtub when we were going through the tour. It was really weird. And it's like, man, somebody needs to investigate the Biltmore. And it's the same thing. No flash photography, no photography at all allowed inside there. I just wonder, what kind of spirits are in these places, these family estates, these castles. All right. Well, let's get to our second and last commercial break here, and then we'll be back with the last couple categories if we can fit them in. Time goes by so quick, especially with these great women here, Spooky and Raven. Check out their show, Anything But Ordinary, on YouTube. And don't forget, guys, go to Late Night in the Midlands RadioNetwork.com. Donate, subscribe, keep the network going. We're not mainstream. We don't have some corporation funding this network. It's all through you guys. So don't forget, go to Late Night in the Midlands. Anything you can do to help keep this network going is greatly appreciated. All right, guys, we'll be back with you in just a couple minutes. Button. We're back. Sorry, people. They heard us on Late Night in the Midlands. Okay. They didn't hear us on Facebook. So we're talking, I'm not going to read everything again. I'm sorry, guys, on Facebook. They heard us on Late Night. I forgot to unmute it. I mute it sometimes to make sure no chance of any of the music comes through. That was my bad. Wow, I haven't done that one in a long time. What we were talking about was the Lalaurie Mansion in New Orleans, and you might be familiar with it from American Horror Story, Kathy Bates' character. She killed over 100 slaves here, tortured them, mutilated them. It's a really interesting place, but I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm going to now that we're unmuted, sorry, audience, thank you for sticking around and letting us know. We'll get to Spooky's haunted mansion.
Okay, the one I picked was the Villisca Axe Murder House, and the reason I picked this is because I've been there twice. Oh, awesome. And I've never in my life had a place. I'm not hardly afraid of anything, but this place really affected me. Hosea and Sarah Moore bought the house in 1903, and of course moved in with their 4 children. And on June 9th of 1912, he and his wife and their 4 children attended the Presbyterian Church, where the children participated in the Children's Day program, which ended about 9:30 p.m. Their daughter had invited the Stillinger sisters, Ina and Gertrude, to spend the night, and all 8 walked to the Moore house, arriving between 9:45 and 10 p.m. The next morning, they were found dead by Hosea's brother after being called by a neighbor. It seems that, he called, when he walked in, he found the Stillinger sisters dead in the guest room. So, of course, he summoned the peace officer, and who got there shortly. Well, when the peace officer searched the house, he found the entire Moore family and the Stillinger girls bludgeoned to death. And there was an axe belonging to Mr. Moore in the guest room with the Stillinger girls' bodies. Now, doctors came to the conclusion that the murders had taken place between midnight and 5 a.m. Now, when they searched the house, they found these 2 cigarette butts in the attic, which to them indicated that the killer or killers waited there until the Moore family and their guests were asleep. And they surmised that the killer started in the master bedroom and killed the parents first. Now, Mr. Moore received more blows with the axe than anyone else in the house. As a matter of fact, he'd been hit with the blade of the axe and was hacked to the point that his eyes were missing. But everyone else in the house were hit with the blunt side of the axe. And then they figured that the killer killed the Moore children and finally going downstairs to the guest room, killing the Stillinger sisters. Now, what was really, I mean, this was a horrific murder, but what was really pathetic was that everyone appeared to be killed in their sleep except for Ina Stillinger. She was found laying across the bed, and she had defensive wounds on her arms. And it looked like that this little girl really put up a fight.
Yeah.
Now, and also her nightgown was pulled up to her waist and her undergarments were missing, and they came to the conclusion that she was either sexually molested or there was an attempt to do so. So this apparently was the only one that was awake during all of this going on. And I could get into the investigation and the suspects, but the fact of the matter is this vicious murder took place over 100 years ago,
Right.
and it's still unsolved.
Well, it's before they really had forensics that we have now. You know, I mean, it was a lot easier for somebody to get away with. Definitely not like it is today when these crazy things happen like on a weekly basis. But back then, that was unheard of. You know, and
True.
they didn't have the forensics to deal with it or the minds to deal with it. You know, you can imagine.
And not only,
yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
And not only that, they had the curious and morbid onlookers that came in, and it just really basically destroyed the crime scene. But
Yeah.
after the murders, this house has had 13 owners. Now, in 1994, it was bought by the present owner, Darwin Lynn, and his wife. And when he received the title, he noticed that some of the owners had sold the place only after about a month after they bought it. At one time, they tried to use it as rental property. And the longest that any of the tenants have ever stayed there has been 2 weeks. And the last tenant was this single woman with, I think, 2 or 3 kids, and her sister lived there. And during the day, they would go in any part of the house, but at night, they would all sleep down in the living room. They would not go upstairs after dark. This place, according to the former tenants and the visitors and even the tour guides in this place, say that this place reeks of evil. One former tenant claimed that he woke up in the middle of the night and saw the dark shadow of a man standing at the foot of his bed holding an axe.
Ooh.
Some claim that they walked into the master bedroom and found shoes filled with blood, which at that time the police officers did also. Others claim that they've come home and they found their clothes had been taken out of their dressers and thrown all over the house. One family moved in. The father was sharpening a knife when the knife suddenly and forcefully turned and stabbed him in the thumb. And he later claimed that he felt something holding his wrist down just before that happened. And needless to say, they left that day and they never went back. And there was one family that was seen by the neighbors running and screaming from the house at 3 a.m. And they never went back. Those tenants claimed that the doors kept opening and slamming shut. They said every door in that house would just open and shut, just constantly. It just would not stop. People that have gone in there on tours, they have heard the sound of footsteps. When they go up into the attic, there's a strong smell of cigarette smoke. One visitor to the house, and this guy was a paranormal investigator from Wisconsin. His name was Robert Larson Jr., and this was on November 7th in 2014. He just suddenly stabbed himself in the chest.
Yeah, that was very viral. A lot of people were talking about that.
Well, he was seriously injured, but he lived.
Yeah.
But that was one of those things where they were wandering around the house, and the other people in his group came and found him laying on the floor with a knife in his chest. There are reports of children, of the sounds of children in the house, and even their apparitions. But when this dark figure of a man appears, these children run away or they just disappear. I mean, this place holds so much evil and negative energy that the tour guides even refuse to go in the house at night. At a certain time, when a certain time hits, those guys are out the door.
How did you feel being there?
How did I feel?
Yeah,
I went twice. The first time that I went, I didn't even make it in the house. I started toward the house, and I'm not kidding, the hair on my arms and the back of my neck literally stood up. And I just had this feeling that if I went in that house, I was going to be hurt. The second time that I went, I made it in the house, and I was in there for about maybe 30 minutes, if that long. And it felt like somebody had clamped their hand over my mouth and my nose. I mean, I just absolutely could not breathe.
Oh, wow.
And I had to get out of there. And of course, I'd probably been through most of the house by that time anyway. But I had been in investigations where I have been hit, I have been pushed downstairs, I have had things thrown at me. But this is the only place that I have ever been to that really affected me as bad as it did. And there's no amount of money in the world that will ever get me back there.
See, I'll pay money to go there.
Yeah, I've wanted to go there, but now I'm having second thoughts.
Not me, no. It makes me want to go more. It makes me want to go more.
This is a place, even standing in the yard, you can feel the evil just coming out of this house.
Oh, wow.
And the guy that owns it now, the couple that owns it now, they thought about using it as rental property, but they run tour guides through it now. But like I said,
so nobody's living there because it's
nobody has lived there, I think, since the 1970s. And the tenants that used to move, that they had rented to, they said that the longest that a tenant ever stayed in that place was 2 weeks.
Wow.
Jason, I know on their website you can book the place, unless it's changed since I last saw it. You can book it for an overnight investigation.
Well, we know we've had Denise Pridemore on here, and she's a regular frequenter of going there, and has talked about it quite a bit. It's one of those places definitely on my bucket list I want to go to. All right, Raven,
Good
what
luck.
do we get? Yeah, Raven, what do we got on your haunted house or mansion?
I have the Sawyer House. They call it the Sawyer Castle, but it's really a house. But it's located in Kansas City, in Kansas, off of Shawnee Road. Now, I plugged this place because I like how it looks and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's a lot of places that don't, is popular or whatever, and there's other places that aren't known or whatever. But as far as I know, you can't go to this place, but it's still a place that I find interesting and would like to go to one day. But this is a 3-story brick building that was built around the 1870s in the late 18th century German Gothic style, and it has like a lookout tower to it. Now, they said the house was said to have 12-foot high ceilings. It has like a 4-story staircase, and they have like walnut and oak going throughout the whole house for the flooring and stuff. Now, on the first floor, they do have like marble fireplaces and chandeliers, and they had windows that were like 6 feet tall, and they had like huge stone cut entrances with the double iron gates, and they had like the stone lions out front and stuff, and they had like these huge front doors that reached like 10 feet high and 5 feet wide. And they were actually opened by like 9-inch long brass keys. And that alone just attracted me just because of the building itself. But this house was, posh for its day if you think about it. But Mr. Anton Sawyer and his wife, Marie, they lived there. They had 5 children, and they lived there for many years. Now, Anton, he had fell ill sometime in 1879, and he passed away in his bed. And his wife also passed away in the home, too, in like 1919. I'm kind of speeding up because of our time. But
I know.
In 1930s, the family sold the mansion to a man named Paul Berry, who claimed back then that the house had paranormal activity happening. True or not, I don't know. But over the years, it's changed ownership, and it has been mentioned by people that live in the area and also people who have been in the house that it is haunted. Now, they have reports of people seeing like lights in the tower and floating lights seen around and, the ground, like those ball of energy lights that we talked about before.
Yeah.
And then, they have people who are talking about hearing disembodied voices and laugh, kids' laughter. That always freaks me out. But they do often see a male apparition as well as a female apparition in the buildings through the windows and on the grounds many times, so. I would have went into more detail, but I'm trying to shorten it up so we can get to the other ones
time.
too.
But that, man, it's a very interesting place. It's got with it like that tower just like calls me like I gotta go inside there.
Yeah.
I want to see it. It's totally cool looking. And yeah, you gotta if you just pass this place like on the road, it would catch my interest right away. The architecture alone, and it just has that really spooky look to it. So
it almost makes you want to just stop and pull into the driveway and go up to the door and ask if you can look around.
Yeah, you would. It looks like this picture here. It's been abandoned. I mean, it's
no, it's still owned.
Really?
It's owned there, and they're keeping it maintained and stuff. But like I said, it's not a place where you can go to. But you could like drive by. But don't try to sneak in and stuff. You go to jail. So.
Never do that, people. Never do that.
Yeah,
Always get
never.
commotion. Never do that. It never ends well in a horror movie. It's probably going to end up with you going to jail more than anything and looking like an idiot. All right, last on our list were haunted cemeteries. That's the final resting place. We're all going to end up there if at a cemetery, and I think this naturally spooks us out. This is something that naturally we feel like, well, it's a cemetery, it has to be haunted. And I don't think all cemeteries really are. I'm not actually, one of my least favorite places to investigate is cemeteries. But there are some that are just, there's something going on there. And of course, it's a cemetery. We expect that. But there's things that go on that are beyond what we normally do. Now, my cemetery is a Highgate Cemetery. I have one picture of it here, of one of the entrances here. This was it's famous. It has a lot of famous people buried there. It's Karl Marx, Douglas Adams, the parents of Charles Dickens are all buried at Highgate Cemetery, and it has long been known for ghosts, sinister activities, and other strangeness included. My favorite part, the reason I listed this cemetery is a story that's stuck with my imagination since I was a kid when I first read about it, is the Highgate vampire. Now, it's not really a vampire, I don't think. It's really known because it has like a cloak on, and it's very phantom-like, 7 foot tall and dark. He has like hypnotic eyes, and like I said, a long black coat and a top hat. And he's been seen to like jump over like the mausoleums in this cemetery. Lots of people have witnessed this over 100 years of seeing this haunting figure there, and it's just known as the Highgate vampire. I guess that's what attracted to me this place since I was a kid. I've known about this cemetery. It's definitely on my bucket list of places I want to go. One person who broke down in their car near the cemetery said they saw a ghoul with glowing red eyes that peered at them through the graveyard's iron gates. If you were in a car and you saw that, if your car hadn't broke down, you saw that, you'd be like, I'm just keep on driving. But your car breaks down, you're just basically forced to look at the ghoul, and the ghoul look at you back. And what do you do? I'd love to know more what happened to that person. There's a ghost of an insane old woman who has been seen racing among the gravestones. Her gray hair is flowing behind her as she searches for her children, who she allegedly murdered. There's a dark, shrouded figure that's been seen standing stock still and staring into space. When it's approached, it vanishes and reappears a short distance away, still standing in the void. A businessman was terrified by a phantom that jumped over the fences and landed right in front of him. He described it as having pointed ears, glowing eyes, and a large nose. This might have been the infamous Spring-Heeled Jack, also another urban legend of the area. There's floating ghosts of nuns that have been seen passing over graves. It's just, this place has a lot of history to it. So that's my haunted cemetery. What do you got, Spooky?
I got Cheeseman Park in Denver, Colorado. It's an urban park and neighborhood in central Denver, and it's bordered on three sides by private residents. And what does a park have to do with cemeteries? Well, I'm going to tell you. This place used to be known as Prospect Hill Cemetery, which opened in 1858. Now, the cemetery itself fell into disrepair, and it became an eyesore for all these rich people living around this cemetery. So the city of Denver decided that they were going to build a park there. Of course, they had to move the body. So they hired this guy, this undertaker, to move the bodies, and they were going to pay him like $1.90 a body. Well, he found out, or he thought, that he was going to make more money. So what he would do, he brought in child coffins, and he would hack up the bodies and put one body in 3 different coffins and then get paid for 3 different bodies.
Oh, jeez.
Well, yeah, the city found out about it, so they canceled the contract and they never renewed it. So by this time, there were 2,000 bodies left in the cemetery, and they just built the park right over them. Now, the entire neighborhood is haunted. People have, in the houses or the mansions, They have claimed that they have found apparitions standing on their porches. There have been faces looking at them through the windows. They would see people in period dress and all of a sudden just disappear. Now, when you walk through the park itself, you will, they claim that you will see apparitions all over the place, especially the section where all these bodies are left. One guy claimed that this man, that they said he looked really bad, he was disheveled. And he walked up to him, he was solid. He walked up to him and he asked him for directions to a place that he had never heard of before. And he said, and then suddenly, just in front of his eyes, this guy disappeared.
Oh, jeez.
But there's no tell. But when walking through and these apparitions have been seen all hours of the day and night. People in the houses claim that there'll be a loud banging on their doors in the middle of the night. And when they go to answer their doors, there's nothing there. Some have claimed just walking out their front doors, they have seen apparitions standing on their porches. And this is still going on today. And now, but the reports are not as frequent as they used to be, and some people think it's just because the activity has been going on for all these years, decades really, that the residents have just become used to it.
Yeah, they're like, oh, hey, there's a ghost again. Oh, well.
Well, there's no reports of anyone being hurt. They're just,
right.
and very few of them even trying to interact with anybody. Most of them seem to just be like wandering around like they're lost or something, which they probably are. But that's a case where the entire neighborhood is haunted. And like I said, this park at one time used to be, and at one time, that cemetery held over 5,000 bodies.
Oh, wow.
But technically, it's still a cemetery, even though the bodies are still there. They're
Technically,
just
it's
covered over
still,
and nobody knows.
yeah,
Right.
and it sits right in the middle of a very affluent neighborhood. It's called the Congress section. And I mean, these are mansions sitting around this place.
Oh, yeah. All right, before we run out of time, I want to get one last place, and that's Raven's cemetery pick. What do you have?
Okay, well, there's like tons of places I want to check out, period, anyway, like the Paris Catacombs and other catacombs and stuff. But this one's Silver Cliff Cemetery, and it's in Colorado. I keep going back to Colorado because you know why? Colorado is super haunted. But
I want to go to Colorado so bad, too.
Yeah, this cemetery was founded in 1878, and it's located just outside of Silver Cliff. And the reason why it caught my attention is not because it's so popular for people seeing tons of apparitions or shadow people and like that, but it's because of the strange dancing blue lights or energy lights that appear there for over 40 plus years. They've been being seen here. Now, Silver Cliff is a small town about 3 hours south of Denver, and it seems that tons of people have witnessed events, like I said, for 40 plus years. Now, many describe the lights to be like a vary in color and shape. They're like bluish, sometimes silver or white. And some say the ones they saw were shaped like, in the size of like a silver dollar or whatever. And these things are emitting their own glow. And it's not like dust that you get in your photos
Right.
with bugs or nature stuff. This
The
is like
real
you see with
orbs.
you see these energy balls with your own eyes and stuff. And there's a lot of people who are skeptic, and they're like, no way. So they travel all the way there just to debunk this, and they can't. It's been published in National Geographic, which not like a whole article, it was like a paragraph or something.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're like, oh, we went
By
there.
the way, there's this place with these
They just
glowing blue
talked about
balls.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then they went on
still-
to talk about the other things that were going on. But but the thing is, they try to say, okay, it's the stars above that are twinkling down, it hits the gravestones, and it causes these things. I'm like, yeah, right. Then we'd be seeing
They
orbs
don't even
everywhere.
make sense.
I know, but these things, they glide and they float about over the prairie grass, as well as weaving in and around these stones. So they know that they're there. It's not, you know what I mean? Nature would just go right into it, ram into it. So these things have some type of, it seems what people are saying, have some type of thought or intelligence to its movement or whatever. But there's some people who say, oh, this is happening there because some of the miners, because of mining back there, they died. So they say it's the miners' spirits, or somebody says a little girl died in the area, so they think maybe it's that. Where other people say it's fairies or will-o'-the-wisps. But whatever it is, it's been occurring for 40-some years. And I'm interested by these little energy light
Me
things
too.
myself.
I want to
I
go to
just
somewhere
wanna
that
go
has that.
investigate stuff.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
never been to somewhere that
that's-
has that activity really, and I want to go somewhere that does, because it seems like you'd have a good chance of maybe documenting it, because it's so frequent in a lot of these places.
Yeah, and there are people who have it on photos and videos and things. And there are people who are getting EVPs while they're in the cemetery too. And there's things that happen outside of the cemetery as well. But you know what I mean? I'm sorry, I'm trying to speed up so we get to it all.
It's all right.
But like I said, I really want to go here. This is just one of the places just to see these energy orbs and to try to debunk it or figure out what's causing it or creating it and just to experience it for myself. And like I said, everybody who like doesn't believe this, they travel from different states and they too have they experience it, and nobody can really put a finger on what's creating this or what it is, but they're there. So
that's so
definitely
awesome.
one of the places I want to go.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, we got a few minutes left. I want to make sure we get the right time. Is it 7 p.m. Central for you guys, or is it 8 p.m.? I can't remember now.
It's 8 p.m. Central.
8 p.m. Central. That's right.
Yep, and 9 p.m. Eastern. We go about 2 hours. We usually go weekly, but lately we're taking a break, so we're doing every other week on Tuesdays. But we talk about a wide variety of things, not just the paranormal, but we do conspiracies to alien stuff to whatever, you name it. And sometimes we have...
It's whatever catches our attention.
Yeah, or whatever we do tons of viewer requests all the time.
You guys
we try our best to really do research and bring everything to the table.
Well, I honestly meant it at the beginning of the show. When I said this, yours is my favorite. I mean, I listen to a lot of different paranormal podcasts, webcasts, and I love a lot of them. But yours, I'm not just trying to toot your horn here. It is one of my favorite shows to listen to because you guys provide such good information. You always pick such really interesting topics. I've gone back to look for, I'm thinking of a topic I'm interested in. I'll actually check your channel out, see has Raven and Spooky talked about it, and go listen to it. Because you guys you guys provide such straightforward information about it, and then the banter in between is always great between you two.
Yeah, you never know what's going to come out of our mouth sometimes because it's
true.
live. You know, sometimes you slip up and then you just laugh about it and everybody has a good time. And we do interact with our chat while we're doing it too.
Much better at it than I am.
Oh, we enjoy your show too. I mean, I've been listening to you for a while.
We even leave our goof ups in the podcast. So, because
Yeah,
I know we got
show.
a lot of people that come in there. Yeah. And I know that we got a lot of people that come in there just to find out what's going to come out of our mouth next. Because sometimes we do get off topic.
But when you do, it's always really interesting. It's you might even be off topic, maybe a little
But
bit,
it's
but
not.
it's not.
In the same way, yeah.
It always seems connected.
Everything, yeah.
So,
well, we appreciate that you invited us on your show.
Oh,
I know
yeah.
you've asked us a few times. We just didn't have the time, but
I
I'm
know
glad
how
we
that
had it
is.
this time. You know,
Well,
so.
Thank you so much, and we got to do it again
Yeah.
sometime. I really, really
Oh,
mean that.
yeah.
I enjoy. I've been looking forward to this since last week when I contacted you guys. I've been looking forward to this all week. So, thank you again. Before I run out of time, I got a plug for Sunday's show. This is 2 shows in 1 week, really, for us. Sunday's show is going to be our Halloween special, and of course, back at our normal time, Sunday, 10 p.m. to midnight Central, 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern. We're going to have live Spirit Box. I got this new thing called the Spirit-Con. They're running live on YouTube. I want to check out. I got to get Anthony Sanchez's Holovox he gave me downloaded on my computer. I've had no time, but if I don't, I know Rob or Bill or Jamie will have it running. We got to test that out. I can't wait to try that out. And we'll have phone calls in the show, open lines at night. Call in, tell us your ghost stories. All right, guys, thank you so much. Don't forget, go to LateNightInTheMidlandsRadioNetwork.com. Help keep this network alive. We need your help. Go there, donate. Even if it's just like $5 is going to help. Anything you can do to keep this network going. So many great hosts on this network. I'm just a little guy here. I mean, Ira and Michael and Ryan Gables. I mean, I look up to these guys. They put on such great shows. I'm just the jackass trying to do it. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great night. See you Sunday, 10 p.m. to midnight Central Time, 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern. See you then, guys. Have a great night. And keep on listening on Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network. We got more coming up. We got Ira Robinson, this Open Eyes, just coming up right now.